So, she was there on their property, and they were in the process of, I believe, building a fence. They were bulldozing. She was laying down in front of the construction equipment, and she had to be removed. And so she was asked to leave by an employee of the mining company, and she refused to leave, and so she was arrested for trespassing. Is it fair to say that the mining company allowed people to come and be on the property as long as they weren't obstructing the construction?
Yes, that's a fair statement.
And so people were allowed to come and observe and stand along the tree line and have an encampment and so on and so forth, as long as they weren't in the way?
Yes, sir, as long as they stayed out of the way.
I haven't.
Do you know who it was that was consulted about whether or not charges should be brought?
Objection, Your Honor. Irrelevant.
Mr. Cook, go ahead. Do you have an argument?
Yes.
Sir, if you want to come right up here, do a little bob and weave by the prosecutor's equipment there, and if you raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. You swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
You may be seated.
Was there any notice given to the public that construction was going to begin on that day?
No, there wasn't.
Did you have a policy prior to April 20th about keeping people off the property?
It's the same that I stated.
And was that disseminated to the public in any way?
Not to my recollection, no.
Mr. Cherry, are you aware of where the defendant was arrested?
Yes.
Is that an area that you were building a fence in at that time?
Yes.
And talking about safety concerns, are you aware of what the safety concerns are in doing this type of construction?
Yes, we have an obligation anytime there's heavy equipment operating to keep people a safe distance from that equipment.
Based on looking at these photographs, I'll show you where she was relative to the bulldozer. Would this be what you would consider to be a safe distance where she's right near the bulldozer operation?
Your Honor, I'm going to object because I don't think we have a foundation as to that site and whether or not that machinery was even in play.
Well, I'll sustain the objection. Actually, we don't really know where the bulldozer was in relationship to the defendant at the time that an issue arose. And I mean, the
but
bulldozer.
she's in the photograph with the bulldozer, so you can see them.
I know, but the bulldozer's not running. She could be on top of it and be safe in this circumstance. So and plus it's an opinion that I think the jurors can make for themselves whether it's a safe.
No further questions.
And what did you observe, if anything, that was not usual?
Well, I wasn't hearing any noise, and so I was going to go up on the rock, and then I decided that I would kind of make the loop around and see, just make sure that everything was all right. And as I was exiting out onto AAA, it's when I observed the bulldozer and a bulldozer operator.
Right. Now, was that bulldozer operating?
No, it was not, sir.
Was it turned off?
It was off. It was not running.
Okay. All right, so it wasn't moving. It wasn't even turned on.
No, the operator was standing beside it.
Why did you make a decision to stay?
I really felt that Kennecott did not have a right to remove me from the property. The lease in question was not in effect as far as I was concerned.
You're familiar with the lease?
I am indeed. And he made a public comment on it and excruciatingly looked it over.
decided to object, Your Honor, at this point because we're going right into the area that's been excluded by the court earlier.
I'm done with that.
Okay, go ahead and move on.
Are you aware of whether or not there has been any regulation, supervision with regard to the conditions of Kennecott's being on?
Objection, Your Honor.
Also statement. Anything, Mr. McKinney?
And you personally have the right to enforce that law.
I personally have the right to be on state public land until
No
such
further
time as
questions,
the law
Bob.
is correct and right.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter, ladies and gentlemen, about the bulldozer. There's been a great deal made by the defense of, well, she wasn't directly in front of the bulldozer. And she wasn't exactly in front of it, but she was in front of it. And she was in the area that was being cleared, and you can see the fresh bulldozer marks and the little pile of dirt that she was on that had just been pushed up by the bulldozer. There was testimony from Mr. Carden that the bulldozer operator said he had to stop because she was in his way. Now, was she directly in his way, or was he just uncomfortable having somebody sitting that close to where he was operating? It doesn't matter. It is not an issue.
Under the strictest order of the law of trespass, I mean, they said three things. They said, were you on Kennecott land? Did you refuse to leave? Were you asked to leave and did you refuse to leave? Well, that didn't go into why I was there. The fact that other people had been there back and forth for days on end. The fact that they had no signs. The fact that there was no posting of trespass had nothing to do with it. I find that very difficult.
I mean, but do you feel like this compromised your case enough to the point where it just wasn't shown? Or this was what you based your whole trial on? It came out of nowhere. We based our whole trial on the fact that the state surface lease was not in effect as it should have been. It's come out most recently that the UIC decision is still out there. And until there's a final decision, the state surface lease is not there. So we'll just see how it plays out in reality.